representación de Costa Rica. Voy a dar la presentación en inglés y en español para que todo el mundo me entienda bien y más que nada porque a veces me expreso mejor en un idioma que en el otro. Pues hoy lo que voy a hacer es darles una presentación de mis experiencias en Costa Rica este verano, siendo la que recibió la primera beca para estudiar en COSI, donde ahí tienen un programa de estudio para adultos y pude elegir dónde ir. En vez de San José, pues escogí la región llamada Manuel Antonio por el atractivo natural y más que nada porque me gustó mucho la playa, me atrayó mucho las fotos y las imágenes y verdaderamente para mí fue una maravilla volver. Voy a hablar primero de cómo recibí la beca. Buscando en el sitio web de Plava, vi que estaban ofreciendo becas de estudio para adultos y pues en mi escuela están dando ahora mucha oportunidad de viaje internacional con un enfoque global. Tenemos un programa de estudio en mi escuela North Cross que se llama Global Studies. Pues en vez de yo llevar estudiantes, este verano elegí ir yo misma para tener esa experiencia de cómo es ser estudiante aprendiendo el español. Pues como ya saben, sí sé hablar español y no necesariamente necesito aprender el español, pero lo que necesito es enriquecer mi español. Yo soy puertorriqueña y he tenido experiencia con Costa Rica. He ido antes, en 1991, y me gustó mucho la experiencia y quería volver. Cuando vi en el sitio web que estaban ofreciendo una beca, pues escribí el ensayo, hice todos los trámites, mandé la información y cuando me dieron la información de que me habían aceptado, pues estuve tan emocionada porque para mí iba a ser una experiencia de volver. Para mí Costa Rica fue el momento en que decidí que yo quería ser maestra y no otra cosa. Y ese fue un escándalo en mi familia porque yo iba a ser abogada y otra cosa y yo decidí ser maestra y fue por mi experiencia ahí y pues quería volver porque había pasado mucho tiempo y quería ver cómo había cambiado el país, que era tan bonito en ese entonces, me imaginaba que iba a ser aún más bonito y pues por eso les voy a dar toda esta información y espero que le pueda sacar provecho. ¿Okay? Pues primero vamos a empezar con mi PowerPoint. Esta parte lo voy a hacer en inglés porque todas las cosas están las tengo escritas en inglés, pero de todos modos, si en algún momento quieren que le aclare algo, pues con mucho gusto lo hago. Todas las fotos que ven ustedes son de mi experiencia personal y son de uso personal también. Pues aquí ven, estuve en la escuela COSI, en Manuel Antonio y Quepos, que son dos partes de una región en el suroeste de Costa Rica, en la zona pacífica. Pues para que conozcan un poco del país de Costa Rica y por qué es tan importante saber y conocer este país, pues en 2009 y en 2012 fue declarado uno de los sitios más felices del mundo. Y mucha gente pues piensa, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué sería tan bonito estar ahí? Bueno, hay muchas cosas que atraen. Primero, y esta parte voy a cambiar un poquitito, very green country. And it's not just green because of the plants, it's very green because it's sustainable. They like to do a lot of environmental protections. All of the river systems are owned by the people of Costa Rica. Nobody owns it particularly, so it's a patrimonio for them and they protect it. You cannot dirty and filthy up the rivers because everybody uses them. So they have that type of very forward thinking that sometimes gets lost when you're looking at making decisions. When a government invests in certain things, they'll invest heavily in infrastructures. Costa Rica invests heavily in their environment, and that is what is paying off in the region. I think a lot of the other countries in the area are starting to catch on, especially Nicaragua, just to the north. 5% of the world's biodiversity is in this small country. It also has made some very, very, very interesting political decisions, abolishing their army. They've abolished their army, and they put all of the money that they would put into guns and uniforms into schools. So Costa Rica enjoys a very high educational standard for the region. Okay? That doesn't mean that it's a perfect system, but it sure is better than not having anything at all. They have a very, very well-educated population as a result. In addition to that, I wanted to point out at the very, very bottom, the Nicoya Peninsula, which is north, and it's the peninsula that juts up to Nicaragua. It is it's a blue zone. So people live very long. It's a very long-lived region, and I think it's a lifestyle as well. The Manuel Antonio National Park is a very interesting bio reserve that they have. It is probably the smallest in Costa Rica, but it has quite a wealth of resources that people enjoy. This is the Quepos port. Quepos is the city, probably the work area, if you will, of that area. It is where the fishing industry is based in, and also there's a lot of tourism. So a lot of hotels are there, a lot of the city services are there. It's also what we would consider the county seat of the area called Punta Arenas. It's about 60 kilometers south of San Jose. If you take a bus, if you use the public bus system, it'll take you about 3, 4, maybe 5 hours, depending on which one you take. This next picture here is the casado. This is what I was mentioning earlier. You can eat very fancy food in very fancy restaurants in Manuel Antonio and in Quepos, but you're better off eating a casado. And you'll see them advertised everywhere for maybe 2,000 colones, which will maybe set you back $3 or $4. And it's a big plate of food, and it's got all the stuff on there that you would ever possibly want. These are some of the fresh fruit that you see in the area. The one at the bottom is called the mamon chino, also known in English as a rambutan. And it's a relative of lychee. And it's a strange thing. You see it's a spiky fruit. You have to bite into it and reveal the soft flesh on the inside, and you chew on it and you spit out the seed. It's absolutely delicious, but it's scary to look at. But I was munching on those because they were in season. COSI itself, they offer a variety of things. It's a well-known language school in Costa Rica, and it was established in the 1990s. And since I got there, it has undergone some changes. So the information I'm giving you is as it stands right now, and then there are some changes that will occur, and that remains to be seen how it's going to change. But COSI itself will be the language school. They have a Manuel Antonio seat, and that's the one that I went to. Máximo Nivel just acquired COSI. In fact, the first week I was there, it was COSI. The second week I was there, it was Máximo Nivel. The transition was smooth, because for me it didn't affect classes that I was taking, it didn't affect the way things were run. But they have a very interesting network, and I got to speak to Mr. Ken, as he wanted me to call him, Mr. Ken, who's the new owner. And he's very much interested in changing the way Manuel Antonio's COSI functions. And so I would be happy to put you in contact with him at the end of the presentation to see how those things would change. Cultural exchange, I'm Boricua, but I also feel somewhat tica and sometimes gringa. They would throw the term gringa at me quite a bit, and that just basically means that I'm from everywhere, I guess. But these are some of the folks that I got to hang out with. The lady in the center is my teacher, Senora Patricia Bolaños. She was very, very, very kind to me. The rose. But I play a game with my students, the rose, the thorn, and the elephant. And so for me, my rose was this catamaran cruise. And it seems kind of silly to talk about it as a rose, but I actually just expected it to be a little dolphin tour. I thought we were going to get on some boats and see some dolphins. We did see dolphins, but there was all this other stuff involved as well. It was actually a party boat. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to take pictures of dolphins, and instead we're having a party on the boat, and we're snorkeling, and it was quite a surprise. The thorn. Okay, so the picture on the right shows the first day I was there at COSI. You see this beautiful skyline, it's just gorgeous, there's all this sun. But the weather changed by the time I was there. By the end of my trip, I was there for 2 weeks, the weather had changed to the point where the rain was happening much earlier. And so by my last day, that picture on the left represents what I had to walk home in, and I actually had to call a cab because I couldn't walk. I kept washing my flip-flops off. The rain was so hard. But that's what you deal with when you go in the wintertime, and for them the wintertime is summer. The elephant, somewhat a surprise. Sometimes I don't pay attention to a lot of details, but while I was there, I really was sensitive to the weather changes. And I had a running bet with Doña Margarita, with the family with whom I was staying. And she would say, well, it's not going to rain today. And I would say, well, I think it's going to rain in the afternoon, and I'd be right. And so that was kind of something I was surprised about. Another elephant, the whitewater rafting trip on the Rio Alegre. So like I say, a lot of these are day trips that you can do. You can do them in the morning, or you can do them in the afternoon. My classes were about 3 hours long. So the Alegre trip, I had to take a whole day for that one because you had to go a little bit farther. But for most of the things, you can do an activity in the morning, and then in the afternoon you can take your classes. Since I was doing the one-on-one studying, I didn't need to learn how to conjugate verbs. So I had a lot of one-on-one conversations, and we spoke on typical eco topics. But I was able to also incorporate some really nice trips in between that. Curricular ties. Now, this is why we travel. If we're going to travel and we're going to do an immersion experience, and it's important to go in there thinking, well, how am I going to bring this back to my classroom? What am I going to teach my students? What are they going to get out of my experience going? So I always keep in mind the actual 5 C's and, of course, the AP themes, and those have changed. And so some of the things that I'm going to show you near the end of this presentation will deal specifically with what I have done as a result of that. During class, I've been able to have some very interesting conversations with my students. I've been able to point perspectives out, things that I've experienced, things that I've seen, and be able to tie it into things that we're discussing in the classroom setting. And of course, enhancing our global studies, I've been able to, we have a global studies program at our school, and I've been able to talk to the global studies director, my experiences as an immersion student, as well as my experiences being a Hispanic traveling abroad, how there's always opportunities to continue learning about your own culture and others as well. So once again, gracias por la oportunidad. It was a fantastic experience, and I still am processing everything that I've learned from that. And I also turned 20 again. In Costa Rica, I turned 20 back in the day, and I turned 20 again. I've been 20 for a long time. I decided to stay there. It's a nice age. All right, and these are all the specific informations, but all the photos were my own. So I hope you enjoyed that particular presentation. Do you guys have any questions? I saw that some of you were writing.
You took both weeks in Manila?
Yes. I actually went down there 2 times this summer. I liked it so much. So I did the COSI trip, and then I went back with my husband because he's like, let's do this, because I had showed him the place, and I said, well, I want to go there specifically to do the COSI experience, and then we can come back. He wanted to do a summer vacation trip somewhere. I'm like, why do you want to go to Spain? Let's go to Costa Rica, because it's really great, and he loved it. And so some of the pictures that I used were from both of the trips, but I mean, I was taking him to the places that I had been and all the things that I had seen, so it was cool because I got to teach him about those experiences. And he wanted to do the horseback riding, so all right, let's do it. But yes, I did the 2 weeks in Manuel Antonio, and I did another 2 weeks in Manuel Antonio, so for an accumulated 20, actually it was close to a whole month in Costa Rica in that particular area, most of July and into August. So it was great. I really got into it. I feel I was soaked in it. That's why I say I'm a pica now. I feel pica. I feel boricua pica. Were there any other questions that you guys might have about the presentation or about the experience that I had as a scholarship recipient or as a student?
Were you able to elect the dates that you liked?
Yes. COSI is a year-long program, and so will Maximo Nivel. It's a year-long program. They have a program for adults. So if you have a week or 2 that you want to take and do some sort of an immersion, if you want to do a specific course of study, a lot of these language schools, and COSI is no different than this, will cater to you. You